like Jim and others, that if they would have had Chapman or somebody else, they'd be in first place by a few more games. So, yes, we'd still be having this discussion.
If you're telling me it was more of a race, then yeah, I would definitely have wanted them to be making moves if you thought this was a race they could be in, right?
Yeah, but, he was assuming that Cleveland and Kansas City, he can get away with the team he has today, with the players he has today. He didn't have to spend. He can build the players and keep this roster the way it is without going out spending, and it backfired.
I was going to say,
analyticals just backfired.
Yeah, when you say get away with it, it's a red flag to me. You're trying to pull a fast one.
No, I'm not trying to pull a fast one.
I've been thinking about this morning, too. I got a little Costa smarm coming.
Oh, no.
Guess what? He didn't draft Wyatt Langford.
And to be fair, I have not ripped him for that. I had no issue with the Max
But
Clark
that's
pick.
been some people,
I know.
He's MLB ready. But guess what? His stats are virtually, if you extrapolate him, because he got hurt some, he's virtually the same thing as Colt Keith right now.
All right. We've done a lot of baseball.
Yeah.
Stoney, you were at a wedding on Sunday.
Yeah, I was talking to some people there who they were talking about, my kid had to go to Austin, Texas for a bachelor party. Or, my daughter just got back from South Beach for a bachelorette party. And, it sounds like it's a cool thing to do. I didn't do it in my day. But I had one friend who had one in Vegas, but I didn't go. I couldn't go. But it seems now, especially if you're at the age where a lot of your friends are getting married within like a year or two, or in some cases, like my nieces and nephews, within a year, you have like everybody has these destination bachelor or bachelorette parties. So you're spending a fortune before you even go to the wedding. And I don't know. Is it fair? I don't know if that's the correct word.
Is it selfish?
Yeah, it might be. Now, look, if you're going to go to one a year, I go to a Vegas trip with my friends every year, whatever. I get all that. But usually, there are a lot of, young people, first job, that type of thing. It's a pretty big expense to have to go, to South Beach for a bachelorette party. Not to mention if you're in the wedding, buying a wedding, the gown that they have to use for the
bridesmaids.
Yes. My brain's going crazy.
And the groomsmen, too. You have to get a
Your
tux.
suit,
You have to get things like that.
Why do you need destination bachelor and bachelorette parties? And why do you want them so much? And do you go to more than one?
You don't need to have them. I think the bride and groom or whoever's planning the bachelorette party needs to know not everybody is going to be there.
And don't
Your
get offended if somebody
have to be
can't
lower.
go.
Yes, and they have to know that it is expensive. I have a question because I didn't have a destination bachelorette party. My husband did. I can't even remember where he went. He went somewhere that they did like whitewater rafting and all sorts of fun activities.
Outdoor stuff, yeah.
But does the bride or the groom or do they pay for... Like, because you're not supposed to. Like, when you go out for mine, anyway,
you pay your own way.
Like, my friends paid for my drinks. They paid for all the fun activities we did. Like, so is the bride or the groom paying for their flight for all the activities they do? Or
is everybody chipping to get them there? I don't know. It's probably case by case.
Yeah.
Because that would be really expensive if that's the case, too.
I would think the most popular destinations are Vegas, Miami, and Nashville. Nashville big for bachelorette parties. And it's not cheap, especially to Stoney's point. If you're on your first job and you have 2 or 3 in the same summer, it adds up in a hurry. I do think they're selfish, right? Is it better or worse than a destination wedding? Because people feel obligated to go to the wedding. I think some people go, oh, I just won't make the bachelor party. But they feel obligated to go to the wedding. And if it's destination wedding, I think that's more selfish.
Well, it depends. If you are really close, your cousin or whatever, you want to be at their wedding, and it's a tough nut to swallow, so to speak. To afford to go, you go anyway. But
it's not the right analogy.
I understand.
Okay.
It's also a weird one to make, especially knowing what this show likes to do.
Sorry, that's all right. That's not right.
I was like, are we going to let him off the hook on that?
Yes.
Heather was not. She's like, if I've had to have the vitriol that I get on the ticket text for a misstep, she's like, I'm not letting that one slide.
Guilty as charged.
I didn't keep going, Stoney.
I don't know. It's like I can see going to one, but to go to a lot of them, that's tough.
You got to power rank your friends, which ones you're going to go to.
Yeah, that gets tough too.
Do you think anybody's ever done a destination bachelorette party and then a destination wedding?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That is overboard.
Right. Now, the destination weddings, a lot of people will use it. Like my friend, I was invited to a wedding. We ended up not going because it was too close around. It was like the Lions playoff time, so I couldn't go. But the destination wedding was, I don't know if it was Cancun or someplace like that.
Sure.
And a lot of people looked at, you know what, this is going to be my vacation. I'm going to go for a week, and the wedding's going to be 2 days of that or whatever. So that's okay.
But assuming it's a place you want to go on vacation.
Yes,
because
exactly.
some people are, well, I didn't want to go to Aruba. We wanted to go see, the mountains or something.
Right.
Yeah.
I just don't.
They're presumptuous and they are selfish, but as long as you own that they are and you don't hold it against people who don't go, I have no issue with it. If you're like, hey,
exactly.
Most of the boys want to go to Vegas. If you can't make it, no big deal. Or hey, we're getting married on the beach in Mexico.
Right.
If you can't get the time off work, I get it. There's no hard feelings. As long as you go in with, it's your wedding, it's your bachelor party, it can be whatever you want, but you cannot hold it against other people because it is selfish.
And some people have the destination weddings because they don't want a big wedding, a lot of people there, and they know not that many, we're not going to invite that many people. So come down to
weed
Barbados.
Yeah. They're like, who socioeconomically can't afford to go here? Well, that way we don't have to not invite him. We just know, hey, he doesn't have the income, so we'll just uninvite him that way.
Yeah.
Where are you guys at on it? 248-539-9797. We'll get your responses next. It's 97.1. We're going to get to the phones here real quick. Ticket text. Anything more than just having the boys over for beers is a waste of money. Signed, Scott Harris. Destination bachelor and bachelorette parties are the topic of conversation this morning. We spent a lot of time on baseball. If you missed it, Odyssey app, rewind. AJ Hinch conversation coming up at 9:35. Let's get to Rob in Farmington Hills. Rob, good morning.
Good morning. I can speak as kind of an experienced person. My sons are in their early 30s, and they've probably been everywhere for these places. Both of my kids had their bachelor parties in Vegas, but they've been to New Orleans, they've been to Houston, Austin. A couple of kids had them at the Kentucky Derby, which is pretty cool. I think Blaney would like that.
John's done that. John's told that story. He's gone to a bachelor party at the Kentucky Derby.
Wow.
Now, my one son is actually getting married for the second time, and his friends insisted that he have a bachelor party. He didn't think he should have one, but they're going to Denver next week. And I'm fortunate that I get along with my kids. I get invited to I'm included in these. I think maybe they include me. I think maybe they include me because I have a credit card with a higher limit, but nonetheless.
Drinks on Rob.
Hey, Rob, did your son is getting married for the second time. Did he have a divorce party too?
Well, he got married. He got divorced the same week his younger brother got married. And at the rehearsal dinner, he gets up and he said, for those of you wondering, my divorce became final this week. I'm open for business.
Oh, my God.
Attaboy.
He's a good guy. Anyway, guys, thanks.
Thanks, Rob.
Take care.
By the way, I did make an assumption that it was a divorce rather than something else.
I know.
Because
once you said that, I was like, maybe.
Hopefully.
It goes differently.
My brain did not consider how that could have gone poorly, but now it does.
Yes.
By the way, I love that Heather did not let it slide last segment, because if people are going to give her a hard time about saying penis and crabs, then I love that you have to sit there and bear the consequences too. We don't let it slide around here. Let's go to Tim in Romeo. Tim, good morning. You're on 97.1.
Timmy.
Tim.
Yeah, this is Tim. I'm actually from St. Clair.
Okay.
That's all right.
Good enough for us.
I guess I'm a little bit more old school. I just find it ridiculous that these young couples, they ask their friends to be in their wedding. Oh, we'd be honored to have you in our wedding. It's only going to cost you about $2,000. To me, like I said, I'm just more old school. Hey, guys, let's just go golf, play some cards, and drink some beers, and just call it good. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, because most of you guys are living in the same area, especially too.
Right.
I get it. People move away, but for most part, most people in your wedding probably live in the vicinity of where you're at. So you go to a local bar, you play around to golf, you have a few drinks.
My bachelor party, I had a few friends come in from out of town, but it was at a clubhouse at a golf course on like 6th and Haggerty. It was Bushwood, actually. I don't even know what it's called now. And we had we had gambling come in. We had some dealers. So we had, before gambling was legal in Michigan. We had some steaks, and we had some entertainment. At Jim, they were. You know what they were called? You know what the name of the entertainment was?
I think I can guess. You have strippers?
Well, yes, but what were they called?
What were the strippers called?
Chicks with?
No.
Oh gosh.
Triplets with a toolbox.
I actually just got Heather to cover her face. That's the first time.
Oh, my goodness.
You may read a couple texts so we don't transition to that.
Let's go to Heather.
Heather with the news. No, first let me just read a couple of these. This year, my buddy has a bachelor party in Mexico and a wedding in Italy. We live in different states. We love to travel. Don't tempt me with a good time, Joe, in Utah. So he embraces it.
Okay.
Wow.
That's thousands of dollars.
It's expensive.
It's not even your wedding.
Right.
It says, I believe everybody should go to a strip club because hopefully it will be the last time you see beautiful bodies, both men and women. Greg from Shelby, a.k.a. Mr. Positive.
I will say with this, I do think some people go through what you term as one-upping.
Yes.
Groups of friends want to one-up what the other friend did. This goes on constantly.
And social media, too. You want to have these photos you can post from these elaborate trips.
Look how cool we are. This one says, my nephew's having a destination wedding in Tennessee. They're paying for everybody's lodging.
Oh, that's
wow.
nice.
So that's a
That's
nice
good.
I can
touch.
do that, yeah.
bachelor party in Scottsdale. That's another place we didn't mention. Super common. It says Old Town District off the charts, bachelor at parties too, and the golf A+. Scottsdale bachelor parties.
Look, guys go on golf trips all the time, so there's nothing.
Is this just an excuse, basically?
Yes.
Yeah. I can see that.
For some people, yeah. Like I said, if you have one vacation a year, 2 vacations, you take one of them for a bachelor party.
This is the ultimate call your shot. Plan one for New Orleans in early February.
Oh, Lord.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, try to get loud. Tough to get housing, though.
Yeah, I don't
or hotels.
Right. I don't see bust. I see Super Bowl. Start planning now.
Hey.
Let's get to Heather with the news.
You may have heard 4 longtime on-air personalities will be leaving Channel 4 this July. Bernie Smilovitz, Rod Maloney, Paula Tutman, and Mara McDonald have all accepted early voluntary buyouts from the station. They say that their exit coincides with a number of behind-the-scenes employees who will also be leaving the station. WDIV Vice President and General Manager Bob Ellis made the announcement on Tuesday, saying that they had a unique opportunity to reward a group of long-serving individuals who have been instrumental in building the station's success over the years.
Bullcrap.
So.
You're close with Bernie.
Well, look, they did get offered really nice packages, but let's not think that it was done for the graciousness of their hearts to thank you for your service. Now, they could have just said, listen, if your contracts, but they were all under contracts anyway. So please, it's corporate America.
They all did have very nice things to say. I read some
yes,
of
I know. They were offered really nice deals.
What they post on social media and things like that. Everyone did have nice things to say about the station, that they were ready to take this early retirement. So good luck to them and good for them for all their hard work and dedication.
Yes.
For the first time in 50 years, Detroit City Airport is expecting some major upgrades and improvements. So the city officials announced that a 30-year lease agreement has been made with its current fixed-base operator, AvFlight. And through this agreement, AvFlight will build a new terminal and a new hangar. They say construction is going to begin this summer and that the structures will greatly enhance the airport's amenities, services, and security, and that these upgrades will drive economic growth to the city and educational opportunities for Detroiters. I didn't even realize that this existed.
I didn't either.
This non-commercial airport.
I started Googling, can I fly out of there?
But no, it stopped regular commercial service when Southwest Airlines pulled out in 1993.
That was when I was born.
But it does maintain a role for, corporate flights, private aviation for training too, pilot training. So it's still in use. So I guess that's exciting.
As Tony would say, corporate America.
Yeah, but I didn't even know it was there.
I didn't either.
A billionaire is ready to take a trip to the Titanic in a brand new $20 million submersible to basically reassure the world that the industry of watercraft is still safer than ever. It's almost been a year since that one sub imploded on the trip down to see the wreckage of the Titanic. So this real estate investor, Larry Connor, is ready to dive the over 2 miles alongside the co-founder of Triton Submarines to the wreckage of the Titanic. And basically they're going to show that they're going to build a bigger and better submersible than the one that imploded.
Yeah, but isn't this just like a Johnson measuring contest then at that point? Like,
yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
With a death wish mixed in?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be really cool. However, I don't need to go down there to see. I mean, what's the director's name?
James Cameron.
Yeah, he's been down there. We've got video footage of what's down there. I'm just saying, why do we have to keep going down there?
Someday it could be a bachelor party destination.
Oh my God.
The Titanic.
Going down in the sub, yes. Finally, the Scripps Spelling Bee. The finals are tomorrow night.
Ooh.
And Google decided to look at the top words that, ordinary, everyday Americans actually struggle spelling. And they posted a map of the top trending how to spell searches in all 50 states. And there's a lot of embarrassing ones. 11 states can't spell words that are 6 letters or less. Michigan's word that apparently we have trouble spelling, cousin.
Really?
We Google how to spell cousin.
It's
all of these words, you're going to go, huh?
What are the other ones?
California, can't spell pretty. New Mexico, quiet.
Dumbest state.
Yeah, come on now. Secret, chaos, animals on the list, equal, field, said.
Said?
Virginia can't spell the word said. Yes. And then there's longer word. Yeah. Exactly. It's pure chaos. Then there's other words that I guess are a little bit more understandable. Definitely.
Okay.
Tortured, jealous, decision, and nervous.
Ones with lots of vowels. People just apparently...
And then states. We don't know how to spell states. Mississippi. I thought everybody knew that.
You learned it in like school.
M-I-double-S-I-double.
Yeah, you learned like a little jingle about it.
Yes.
California, Pennsylvania. We all struggle with those, apparently.
Were you ever in a spelling bee?
Oh, no.
Worst subject in school. I was a terrible speller.
No.
I was in the 4th or 5th grade, spelling bee, and the word I got out on after getting a few right was poultice. And I'd never heard of the word before.
Language of origin, please.
Can you use it in a sentence?
You know what? I forget. But anyway, the word, I spelled it P-O-L-T-I-S because I never heard the word.
Sure.
It's P-O-U-L-T-I-C-E.
I love that you've carried this with you for years.
You'll never forget.
Oh, yes. One of these days, I'll give you my early French dialogues from French class that I saw.
I look forward to that day, Stoney.
Michel, vous travaillez?
And that's Heather with the news.
Oh, non, nous regardons la télévision. Pourquoi?
We were talking bachelorette parties, a place that you could go. Vegas, check out Stadium Swim with the best pool in history. It's located at Circa Resort and Casino, where you can catch all the biggest games at a viewing experience that's built for sports fans. They've got the 6 pools, 3 different levels, perfect view of a massive 40-foot tall high-definition screen. It's Stadium Swim, America's favorite place to watch football. They got the swim-up bars, Insta-ready selfie walls. It's a nonstop party, and it doesn't have to be football season. This is 365 days of sports poolside. Score your perfect game day spot, cozy day beds, private cabanas, or lounge at the center of the action. Reserve your place today. 365 days of sports poolside, located at Circa Resort and Casino in downtown Las Vegas on Fremont Street. It's Stadium Swim, all sports, all seasons. Book your spot today, circalasvegas.com.
Yeah, I got to do a 15 and then a 30. Colony Marine, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. This is Stoney for Colony Marine. You know by now that we don't just sell you boats. Colony will sell you the boating lifestyle. We have the top brands and people here to make your experience with Colony hassle-free. Visit us in St. Clair Shores or Oakland County, showroom locations, or at colonymarine.com. Did I say shoe room instead of showroom? I'll do it one more time. Hey, it's Stoney for Colony Marine. You know by now that we don't just sell you boats. We sell you the boating lifestyle. We have the top brands and people here to make your experience with Colony hassle-free. Visit us in St. Clair Shores or Oakland County showroom locations or at colonymarine.com. Here's the 30. Hey, it's Stoney for Colony Marine. You've heard me talk about the boating lifestyle and why there is nothing more satisfying than making memories with your family and friends. From sales to service and delivery to storage, Colony makes boating hassle-free so you can spend more time on the water in one of our boats from Sea Ray, Boston Whaler, Cobalt, Crest Pontoons, Maritimo, and Fairline. Over 65 years helping new and seasoned boaters at the St. Clair Shores and Oakland County showroom locations or at colonymarine.com. You can send that to Larry Olick. Thank you.
These are really wordy, so bear with me.
They're going to face Paul Skeens. Second game of the doubleheader. It is his birthday today, Stoney.
Happy birthday, Mr. Mustache.
He's going to be a tough pitcher to face. Some would say a tough nut to swallow or crack, depending on your vernacular.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
yeah, that was me.
Anyway, there you have it. We have some Tigers news. Kerry Carpenter is going on the IL. He's not in the lineup today against a right-hander, which kind of drew some eyebrows, as did the fact that Akil Baddoo has a locker room at the clubhouse. Akil Baddoo up, Kerry Carpenter to the injured list.
Wow. Well, they don't exactly have a lot of power to begin with, so you send the power down or, to the injured list, and you become a less powerful club. But maybe Akil Baddoo can, hang out with Riley Green and, do some car ads.
The Baddoo thing, when he first broke out.
Mm-hmm. It was fun. It was cute. That's about it.
It hasn't sustained.
No.
You're not under the belief
a 4A player.
Yeah, exactly. He's here to help for a couple weeks.
Wouldn't you have rather than bring up Malloy? I know Malloy's not really an outfield. I don't know what he is.
Well, he's supposed to be an outfielder.
Yeah, I don't
At this
know.
point, they moved him from third base to the outfield. He seemed to be a guy that I would have been interested in. I know Gator can go down on the farm and maybe help provide a case for it. I know Doug is standing by as well. Guys are out at Gate A. Guys, shorter show with the doubleheader.
Yeah, how about that, huh? Yeah, it's you know what, guys? I have to say, summer was nice.
It's cold out?
Yes. I broke out the winter vest thinking, I thought I'd put it away in the closet for good. But, it's a little chilly down here. But if you're coming to the games, to the doubleheader, make sure you dress appropriately because I would imagine it's not what you expect here in late May.
Well, cold weather against pitchers who can throw about 100 miles an hour. Should be take the under in both these games, huh?
Yeah, I mean, take the under in almost every Major League Baseball game this year. Offense is down across the board, but certainly a problem here in Detroit. So we'll talk about it a little bit and get into the Scott Harris interview that has gotten a lot of discussion. AJ Hinch told you guys some interesting stuff. So a lot going on.
Doug, how was the baseball the tournament?
Well, thank you for asking. It was to a degree successful.
Okay.
It's my son played on the University of Michigan club baseball team, and I got a lot to say about club sports. He experienced 3 years of getting to play, but they do have a College World Series. They lost to Penn State. I think it was 5-1 in the opener. Came from behind and beat Iowa State 11-6 in an elimination game, and then lost to Grand Canyon.
The Fighting Antelopes?
Yeah, the Antelopes have worked their way through the losers bracket and took down number 1 East Carolina yesterday, so they're playing the if necessary game today.
For the championship?
No, it's they will play. The winner will play Penn State, who is the defending national champ. But it's cool. Florida State was there, Texas A&M, Oregon, the experience is great, and I got a lot of positive things to say about the club sports experience. But it was I'll tell you what the tough part was that caught me off guard was it was probably the last baseball game my oldest will ever play, and I was a little surprised at the way I felt afterwards. I didn't think I'd get sad.
You got a little choked up.
I got
melancholy, Doug.
Yeah.
You know what though? We have a friend. You guys know who he is, Jason Hillman. He still plays in adult hardball leagues for years.
Yeah.
So
maybe he will keep playing.
Yeah.
It's just tough because him in baseball is kind of like the soundtrack to our summers. We were constantly at tournaments, and he was playing games and practices, and I was coaching and for a bunch of years, and then he played for other teams, and it's been such a good experience and so much fun and a big part of what we do every summer, and just for it to come to an end. And then driving back, we were in Alton, Illinois. We drove past 8 or 9 places that we'd been to for tournaments, and it just every time you drive past another one of those exits, you're like, oh yeah, I remember this, and it's over, and it's tough. But I mean, look, 99.9% of people don't get to decide when they're done playing.
Right.
So, but thank you for asking. It was a great run.
You're welcome.
Doug, I kind of picture a sad movie montage playing as you're driving past all these fields, and then the memories flash on the screen. Very picturesque.
Yeah, it was really. I was a total sap yesterday driving back. I was surprised by it, but I mean, it's on to the next stage. He's graduated from college. He leaves for a job next week, and I will, as part of his life, surely be long forgotten.
Very uplifting. All right. You guys got a jam-packed short show. Not that we're jealous. We are jealous. Short show as you guys lead into a doubleheader Tiger baseball. A lot coming up next. It's Carson Anderson, 97.1.
Yes, outside of Comerica Park for our program today, and a chilly day in downtown Detroit. So if you're coming to the game, dress appropriately. Hello, Scott.
You look like Nanook on the north.
Yeah, I've done this long enough to know that if you are trying to broadcast and talk and focus on the show and you're cold, you struggle. Now, to be fair, when we're in studio, I'm always cold, and you often run hot.
This is true.
So
Yeah.
In this particular instance, I just dress appropriately. And if I get too warm, I will take a layer off. But if you want to see what I'm wearing, you can go to the Twitch feed and the YouTube as they are connected from down here at Comerica Park. Go to twitch.tv, search up 971 The Ticket. Go to youtube.com, search up 971 The Ticket. You can participate in the streaming chat as well. How are you?
I'm okay.
Yeah?
I'm okay.
Did you have a good holiday weekend?
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, the weather was a little hit or miss, but when it was hit, it was great.
Yeah.
Even when it was missed, it was fine. I hung out with some friends on Sunday evening, so that was good, and just kind of lazed around on Memorial Day on Monday. The weekend really kind of kicked off on Thursday when I was playing golf for the first time this year. When I subbed in that league.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And then everything else just kept going over the weekend. It was just ended up being really, really nice.
So I just want to do this as a bit of a public service announcement. I've done it before, but not everybody hears every minute of every show. Shame on you. But just to kind of endorse something that we found to be stunningly fulfilling, and that is what we were talking about there before the break. My oldest son, my wife and I, our oldest son, Brendan, has just graduated from the University of Michigan. He went to Ann Arbor Pioneer High School, played baseball there, loved the game, loved the sport, played all growing up, and lost his senior year to COVID, as did so many high school kids in the same graduating class, whatever their sport may be. And, it was tough. They were going to have a good team his senior year. They'd been looking forward to their senior year. They had a strong senior class. And, hey, they'll never get it back. And it's a tough deal. It's a tough deal. But, life is filled with COVID was a lot tougher on a lot of other people for obvious reasons. So, you just got to learn to deal with that. And it's part of growing up. And there are disappointments. Not everything goes the way that you planned. And I hope that in some ways he has, grown from that experience. But, then his freshman year, well, they circle back. Out of high school, he did get some small college looks and met some great people along the way. I thought, Wayne State and Ryan Kelly, the program he runs there, would have been great. Great for my son. And the Albion College, Scott Carden, really impressed us. And, he took a look at some other places, had a couple of D1 sniffs, but bottom line was when he got into the University of Michigan, it seemed like the probably the best choice, even though baseball wasn't going to be in the cards for him there. So we did a little research on club baseball. We didn't know anything about it. And the one thing that I found very intriguing was that there was a postseason, basically an NCAA tournament. It's called the NCBA, but and you play in a league, and in the league was Michigan State and Western Michigan and Central, and it's regional. But if you if you win your league, you go to regionals, and they did his sophomore year. There was no freshman season because of COVID. And it was Michigan, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, and Michigan State. There's one at-large bid, and actually that year Michigan State won the league, and Michigan got the at-large bid for the Great Lakes region. So it's really, really, it feels fun and big time, and you're representing your school. And they were all kids just like Brendan that had college opportunities, but decided if you're a D2, D3 athlete, but a high D1 or academically, it made some sense. The experience was very fulfilling. The baseball was of a decent level. He wanted to take it seriously. The team took it seriously. They went to the College World Series his freshman or sophomore year, and went to the College World Series again this year. Won regionals twice, and it's nobody. I mean, I get that nobody else cares, but the parents and the kids, and a little bit the communities. That we went to Greenwood, South Carolina, the first year, not Greenville. There is a difference. Greenwood was interesting, and this year we were in Alton, Illinois.
One's the Ville and one's the Wood.
That's right. There is no Omaha. There is no TV, although all the games are streamed with a broadcast and everything. And I've talked to other parents about it, and they kind of were surprised at the level of enjoyment they got out of it. On top of that, you get to be a normal student. You're not 4-hour practices 5 days a week. And I kind of joke that the best players are freshmen because they come off their high school careers. Right. They play all summer. They're still in shape. They're not old enough to do some of the things that the seniors are old enough to do. And so they are still, skills are sharp, right? So anyway, it was a really, really good experience. And I would argue, what are you laughing at?
I got the lawnmower again.
The lawnmower.
Every time.
Lawnmowers are here. The point is, I guess I want to emphasize to parents now who have kids playing high school sports, that if your kid academically or the college they want to go to doesn't want them for the sport they want to play, there is this other option that I couldn't recommend more. It is, you play, you get to put the school's name on your chest, and you go out there and you get to compete. And I would call it college level travel baseball for parents who've experienced that. But there's one league, and The funny thing about travel baseball is that every weekend you can go to Chicago for a tournament called the National Championships. Then you can go to Louisville the next weekend for the National Championship. And I'm like, how many national championships are there? This actually is. They're going to crown a national champion tomorrow in Alton, Illinois. It's going to be Penn State, Grand Canyon, or East Carolina. And I don't know how else to say it, but look at that if your kid is considering playing, wants to keep playing, but the school they want to go to doesn't want them for their sport. So
yeah, and it's not just baseball. There's club soccer. There's I don't know if is there club basketball.
There's club basketball. There's hockey. There's softball. I do believe there's club football. Believe it or not.
Is there NIL?
Well, they were working on an NIL deal. They swore they were going to get one. I never saw the results of that. But I just want to give that endorsement to that because yesterday when my kid played his last game, he cried. And you don't cry after experiences that you didn't like. He loved it. He absolutely loved it, loved his teammates. And he's just sad that, one of the kids said, I'm going to miss the baseball, but that's not what I'm going to miss the most. And it was the team.
Well, you keep friendships. That's the thing that you can do. You maybe not going to be roll back and play baseball, but if the number one thing that you got out of it was the camaraderie with your friends and your teammates, that doesn't change. That continues as long as you want it to continue.
Yep.
Life happens and you kind of lose touch as time goes on, but that's life.
It is, and it's on to the next chapter. And so, he leaves for a job next week, and that's off to the real world. I say things to him like, so have you figured out what cell plan you're going to be on? He's like, what? And I'm like, well, now that you're in the real world.
Right, yeah.
I'm not paying your cell bill anymore, right? That free ride's over. I don't know. It might be cheaper for us to keep him. Yes, indeed. We are broadcasting live from Comerica Park. And as soon as the show starts, they do indeed fire up the mowers. And
it's uncanny.
It is unbelievable.
Really, we could have been doing this show tomorrow afternoon or morning during the middays, and they would have delayed this until tomorrow. Yep. I swear they have a direct link to Jimmy, our program director, to find out when we're doing the show on remote. Oh, you guys are on Wednesday. Okay, yeah, no, we'll be sure to get everything in shape lawn-wise.
Well, the funny thing about it is I think my thought is, do they mow that stretch of grass every day? And by the looks of it, the answer is no.
No, they don't. they wait for us to show up.
Yeah, so anyway, I just want to get that endorsement out there, and now we move on. The Scott Harris comments has created quite a bit of buzz, and if you didn't hear them in their entirety, we'll get to it and give our 2 cents and get into what's going on with our Detroit Tigers. Doubleheader today against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mowing now, there'll be the
they got the edging, the trimming, and the blowing.
The blowing, yeah. There'll be a helicopter landing, church bells.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. I'm sure there'll be an arrest, a police chase that ends right in front of us with sirens blaring. That's how it works when we're here at Comerica Park. Tiger baseball coming up this afternoon. It's Carson Anderson here on 97.1 The Ticket. Hey, congrats to all the Wolverines drafted into the NFL for 2024. The University of Michigan Credit Union is cheering you on loud and proud. UMCU is a proud partner of Michigan Athletics and the official credit union of the Detroit Lions. One might say they're the leaders in best in financial services. I just suited up with UMCU, and you can too. No matter where you hail from, you're eligible to join, and signing up is easy. They have the coolest debit cards around, including Detroit Lions debit cards. They got one coming out soon that will match the black uniforms, Michigan Block M card, winged helmet card. And with your UMCU debit card, your call plays at millions of stores, hotels, and restaurants worldwide. Need some cash in your pockets? Hit up thousands of surcharge-free ATMs conveniently spread across Michigan and beyond. Open your account today at umcu.org and get in the game. And hey, while you're there, check out their resources for student auto or home loans. University of Michigan Credit Union, proudly repping your official Block M debit card. Win with UMCU. Some restrictions apply. See site for details. Federally insured by NCUA. Carson Anderson outside Comerica Park, 248-539-9797. All right, so look, what created a buzz yesterday was Scott Harris's appearance on MLB Network, the president of the Detroit Tigers organization, who has, he said a lot of the same things, but it was brought up, the idea that the Tigers could have perhaps got a little bit more aggressive in free agency. Now, the backdrop to this is this has been a team that really hasn't been particularly competitive for the better part of the last 8 years. They bottomed out, had some really woeful seasons along the way, and have started a very slow climb back up.
The last couple of years, maybe a slow start to the season, and then like 500 the rest of the way is as good as we've seen.
Yep. And I get it. Fans are frustrated. Fans want to see, the organization give it a little bit of gas and go for it. Scott Harris took over, though, 2 years ago and has talked a lot about player development and changing the way that they, identify and go after players, which he has every right to do. But you kind of run into this thing where he seems to have adopted a slow and steady approach. I think there's frustrations with ownership dating back to what people thought Little Caesars Arena was going to be. Like the artist renderings, which I love artist renderings, but I'm starting to realize artist renderings don't do anybody any favors when they're all said and done.
Well, the biggest issue that I think they had was that the renderings had the lights on the roof of the building that kind of illuminated a giant red winged wheel.
Yep.
That looked awesome, and they didn't put that in, although I don't. It's
but
not,
there was
really not a big deal.
It felt like there was an entire village and community that was built up around
the whole district of Detroit was it's not just the
hasn't exactly materialized the way the renderings made it look.
No, this area in front of us, the parking lot here, was supposed to have been at this point long ago was supposed to have been some condos and such. So,
but the bottom line is people feel frustrated that maybe the Ilitch organization, I don't know who's responsible for it. I didn't really get into the weeds with that, but the bottom line is I think that's where some frustration kind of has started to people point the fingers. There is a lack of aggressiveness in free agency. There were player contracts that were awfully weighty that had to fall off, dating back to like Jordan Zimmerman, Victor Martinez, obviously Miguel Cabrera in years where he wasn't going to be worth it, but that was sort of the Cabrera tax to sign him long term. And we often had pointed to the end of the Miguel era as being a time where that freed up some money for them to get more aggressive.
Right.
The timeline for that, with how close the team is, didn't really seem, in my opinion, it occurred to me that they weren't really aligning. They hadn't built a team that was particularly close. And I am in favor of getting aggressive in free agency. And I spoke out loud all winter long, that I wanted the Tigers to go pursue Blake Snell.
The pitcher.
Yes. Blake Snell hasn't made it through a fifth inning yet this year.
Okay.
His ERA is in the double digits. I think it's 10.5. It would have been an awful signing. But it would have showed a commitment. But at the end of the day, that commitment would have been showed, and they would have been basically anchored with another potential terrible, terrible contract. They have one on the books right now that is not the doing of this regime, and that is, unfortunately, Javi Baez isn't living up to what he is being made, and they're kind of stuck. What is he is being paid, and they're kind of stuck with that. So you get into this situation where do you spend? This part has already been mowed.
I know. He's mowing this again?
We're remowing. You get in this situation where they still could have gone after some other people. The name Matt Chapman was out there. The name J.D. Martinez. These were the ones that we heard all the time from fans. And both of them have come around a little bit. Chapman had a good month of May.
Yeah, Chapman came around significantly.
Yeah, an OPS for the month over 800. JD has shown a little pop here. He's got 3 home runs now. But I'm not sure that signing them to big money contracts would really change the arc of this season, but it would have shown an effort. So the topic comes up with Scott Harris, and Scott Harris was asked about it yesterday on MLB Network. And here is what he said for people who haven't heard it to Brian Kinney of MLB Network on the lack of not going super aggressive with free agents.
He's right there.
Okay, so what does that mean to the average fan? Do they care what he has to say? Do they believe what he is saying? Is there reason not to believe him? I mean, he's not likely to come on the air and say, well, ownership doesn't really support us, so we're doing the best with what we have.
Well, I believe him 100% of what he has to say. I think the question that I would have, and that I think every fan would have after hearing that is, okay, how close are you to building this foundation where then you can go out and get those free agents that supplement this team or complement, however you want to say it, that add to this framework and make you competitive again? Because it doesn't feel like this team has a ton of anchor pieces that are major league ready right now. I mean, Riley Green has been up and down. Great April, horrible May. Spencer Torkelson has been a struggle. A much better last couple weeks that has definitely changed people's spirits about him, but nonetheless a struggle. Colt Keith, horrible April, much better last 2 weeks, and now we've got hope. But again, all three of these guys are collectively hitting like 225.
Right.
You know, and that's not good enough. What else do you have? Okay, Kerry Carpenter, 2.5 years into his career, looks like he might be the real deal. But is he a guy that you would consider a foundational piece? It feels like that people don't want to commit to that, and yet it might be exactly what he is. But beyond those four position players, what do they have that's foundational? Way too early to say that Wenzel Perez is going to be foundational. You don't. I mean, Vierling or Canna or McKinstry.
So you're just talking about everyday lineup, right?
Yeah, I'm just talking. I'm not getting to the pitching yet.
Yeah,
because the pitching feels like that's a step closer. Okay, so then if I'm going to add free agent wise, maybe I don't need to look at pitching so much, but it is the lineup because they're right now it looks like there's one guy that I feel like that's a guy, and the other guys are still works in progress, which is disappointing considering this is year 3 for Torkelson and year 3 or 4 for Riley Green.
Yeah, and look, if you look at his signings, they've actually kind of been decent. I mean, none of these are great players; they're kind of underrated.
No, but
it's so
they're
funny
fine
because you can see how a Mark Canna on a team that's got some stars becomes one of those incredibly valuable role players, right? And you can see. I mean, their bullpen has been decent. The Flaherty thing, he's having a hell of a bounce back year. So, as it stands right now, I have no reason not to believe this man. The problem is his timeline is way different than the fans. The fans are looking at a decade of not feeling like they have a competitive team. He's in the infancy stages of his regime, and those two things are not anywhere near congruent.
No, that's why, again, the question I think the fans would have and that I have is, okay, how close are we to building this foundation? And can you find a foundational piece through free agency? Because you can, but you're going to have to commit serious money if you want to do so. If Juan Soto, if he doesn't work out a deal with the Yankees and he's a free agent at the end of the year, you're talking about a guy who's 25, 26 years old. Hell yes, that's a foundational piece. You can go ahead and do something like that.
It would take a massive financial commitment. But
yeah, well, of course. But then again, this team doesn't have they haven't committed that much financially right now to this team moving forward. It's like a $100 million plus payroll which is half of what it was in its heyday. They've got room to certainly add to it, but again, you don't want to add too much unless you have a foundation there so that you can reap the benefits of it, not just have, we got one great player and the team's playing 500 baseball. You want to be better than 500. You want to be competitive in the playoffs when you're adding these pieces. So I get it, but when is it? And how many foundational pieces do you think you have?
These are the long form questions that fans. Okay, let's say at the end of this year you could. Well, we'll get to it coming up in your phone calls because we're short on time. But 248-539-9797. Do you believe Scott Harris? Do you believe? And do you like what he's saying? I mean, I would imagine most people don't necessarily like what he's saying, but do you understand? And I'm interested in the fans' interpretation of that. If you just think it's a company line or he's being, basically, covering ownership's butt and just saying what he has to say. Or do you think that there's a modicum of truth to it? 248-539-9797. Hey, Twin Peaks has made changes for the summer, and your favorite bourbons and brews has a new twist. Officially starting tonight, it's tequilas and cerveza parties. Wednesdays all summer long, they'll be featuring a sampling of the best drafts and bottles along with high-end and special tequilas. Twin Peaks girls are in their red lingerie, ready to bring you those cure those midweek blues. Samplings take place from 5 to 7, so get in early to see why it's the best night of the week. They're even sampling some of their excellent craft cocktails this week. Features the amazing Peaks Margarita. And did you know Twin Peaks has added more time to their daily party? All lodges now open later. That means an extra hour of happy hour, Monday through Thursday night. Late night start at 10 p.m. Monday and run through Thursday till midnight. That gives you late workers or night owls an extra hour to take advantage of their amazing happy hour specials. Bring the crew and enjoy amazing deals on shareables like fried pickles and $5 hand cut and breaded to order mozzarella cheese bites. Wash it down with great drink deals like $3 Wells, $4 tall domestic drafts, or buy a cheap round of shots for the group, priced at $3.99. Come in today and see why Twin Peaks does it better than everyone else. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, and scenic views. Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Open lines, 248-539-9797. As is the pattern, the mowing is done, and here comes the leaf blower blowing all the grass.
The completely unnecessary leaf blowing.
Yep. There's no.
He's just walking around with the thing on. Like, there's nothing to be. There's no loose grass. You know.
We saw Tom on Twitter tweeted us, going to be a radio delight when a flock of squawking flamingos land in front of you.
It'll happen.
That's what happens every day we're down here. There's always something.
It's usually August.
Okay, so we played that Scott Harris soundbite, the guy that's in charge of the Detroit Tigers. And when you hear him talk, do you believe him? And does in any way do you come away from it and go, okay, I kind of get it. That his theory is we're not ready to add gas to this engine. We are trying to get closer to the point where it makes sense to spend money. And I happened to be in the car last night when Caputo brought up the signing of Jordan Zimmerman, the aforementioned Jordan Zimmerman, which was not a smart signing. It was done at a time where it probably didn't make a ton of sense. And they ended up being a bad signing. They got anchored to this contract that was terrible through an era where they probably should have been developing players, and all it did was delay what we're going through now because they'd already started to sell off pieces. And now they're trying to they're trying to develop those pieces so that when they add, it takes you from above average to good, or from good to great. And I kind of get it, but I also have found it very easy for me personally, and this is why I feel this way, to reset every clock to zero when a new regime takes over. To the fans, this is 8 years. To me, it's year 2. And because they made the change. And I want the new guy to get time to put his stamp on the program.
Right, and so far, the players that are contributing or that you think might have a chance to be the foundational pieces, they're not his. They're not his draft picks. No. And it's gonna be a minute before we see that. So it's preaching patience where people have been patient for a long time, and I'm not going to say we got spoiled because I think it's every fan base expects that when you're good, you're going to stay good for a while there, and they were very competitive for almost 10 years. And we it's not being spoiled. Spoiled was being a Red Wing fan, going through for 25 years.
Yeah.
Having the expectation that you can win the Stanley Cup when the season begins.
Spoiled.
So it's not like that with a baseball team. So you want to see these guys work. You're hoping that, that things start to click and offensively it gets going. And it doesn't have to get going where these guys are all of a sudden, mashers out there and hitting well above 300 and all that. But it needs to be a lot better than what we've seen. And then they need to see the next pieces come forward. You need to see Jace Young come up to this team and have a command of the strike zone, and so he knows when to swing and when not to swing, and he shows that power swing, and the Justin Henry Malloy, that he can translate what he's done in the minors and bring it up to the majors and cut down on his strikeout rate and all this. But that's where it has to happen. And Malloy happens to be, that's a guy that Scott Harris went for.
Yep.
But what does it say that he hasn't brought him up yet? I mean, I think he's very strict about what he wants from his players before you make the transition from AAA to the major league.
But this is a story as old as time. Why haven't they brought him up yet? Why isn't Joe Jimenez here? Why? Why isn't who's it? Svechnikov? Why haven't they called him up yet? We can go back forever, and there's always sort of that love, and I mean, the intrigue of Johnny Next Guy is so enticing to fans that. I like to say, and I think it's true, that organizations always move slower than the fans want them to.
Well, yeah, and in baseball, it is the biggest crapshoot of all when it comes to first-round picks and that translating to major league talent. I mean, the Tigers were barren, absolutely freaking barren for years when it came to their first-round picks. Guys, it just never developed, and it was rough watching the Kenny Baas and the Seth Kreisingers never make it to this level.
Now, to be clear here, this is just sort of my feelings. I get why fans are frustrated.
Yes.
Because there's a different kind of frustration when it comes to the Tigers. When they're bad, I think people look at it as they're ruining my summer. I want to have this team around. I want to enjoy it. On top of that, most people don't understand the nuance of what's going on, that they're not even on TV.
Well,
and so for much of Detroit, so you've got this unique circumstance where I get every single ounce of frustration people have. I guess I want to tell you, I don't think they're being stupid, nor am I convinced they're being cheap. Could be, because I don't think Scott Harris would tell us if they were. But I also don't know why Scott Harris would take the job. Why would anyone take the job if ownership was basically said, look, I want you to do this on a budget? It's basically saying, I'm not going to give you the resources. You're going to have to work a miracle, and your career and reputation are staked on it. Now, there's only 30 of these jobs and that you could take, so maybe you take it anyway, but it wouldn't seem like a smart career move to me.
No, but I think maybe what fans also want to see is taking a chance. And Mike Ilitch took a chance back in 2004, I think it was, when they went out and signed Pudge Rodriguez.
Yeah.
This was not a good baseball team. It was historically one of the worst teams in baseball, losing 119 games. And he had enough and said, we're going to go out and we're going to get some guys. And it didn't work out right away, but it didn't take long before it did. And the two chances he took were throwing money at Pudge to get him to come here. Pudge did not get along with management when he first started, but it took a couple years. And remember that then they went out and took a giant chance on Maglio Ordonez, who had just had the experimental surgery that people were like, I don't know about this.
Right, yeah, he was in Switzerland.
Right. He had to go overseas to get some surgery done, and he came back and, when his first year with the Tigers was still banged up. But after that, things started to click. And if you look back at that 2006 team that went to the World Series, I mean, how many of those guys were foundational type players? I mean, that's a team they had some talent on there, but they started to cobble it together through free agency and through trades. It wasn't done necessarily through the draft. Verlander was a rookie that year, right?
Yeah.
But the guys on that team were Nate Robertson, Jeremy Bonderman, and Kenny Rogers. Those were the guys that were getting it done, and Kenny Rogers was another gamble they took. The year prior, in 2005, All-Star Game is here. Everybody in the media was in the locker room before the game with cameras trained on Kenny Rogers because he had that incident. This was when he was, I think it was with Texas, and he had that incident with something on the field, and it was a big argument, and it was a big deal. And he sat there and faced the music the whole time, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty impressed by this guy. And the next year, he's pitching for the Tigers.
Yeah.
So they did go out and spend money on players on a team that did not seem like it was a foundational type team. So it can be done a couple different ways. This is the way Scott Harris wants to do it, but I wonder if does he really want to add some more players to this to kind of speed along that process.
The problem is, too, developing baseball prospects can be a long process. The levels at the minors, even when you get here, there's an adjustment period. I mean, Bobby Witt Jr., right, just signed that huge contract. Mm-hmm. Look at the arc of his career. If you go back and look, it really has taken 3 years for him to kind of catch up. And now, he gets the big deal, and he's really productive.
Phenomenal player.
Yeah, and it's really started to work out. But at some point, I'm sure in Kansas City, they were taking calls that Bobby Witt was a bust. So 248-539-9797. Your phone calls and feedback coming up. Do you believe Scott Harris? We'll get to some of what the people are saying next. From outside Comerica Park, it's Carson Anderson on 97.1 The Ticket. NBA playoffs, of course, ongoing, and it's not too late to get in on the action with FanDuel, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to use on same-game parlays, live bets, championship futures, and so much more. So just find a heavy favorite and bet on the money line or whatever. And when that bet hits, you got $150 to use at your discretion. There's no better place to bet on the NBA playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Just visit FanDuel.com/Doug to get started. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or over and present in Michigan. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit is required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Let's get to your phone calls, 248-539-9797. Ed, you're on 97.1 The Ticket. What's up, Ed?
Hey, guys. I think part of the frustration of fans is, first of all, I don't think Scott Harris has a clue what he's doing. I honestly don't. And Doug, I couldn't be more against a Blake Snell signing. I don't want a pitcher who only shows up in his free agent year, and that's exactly what Blake Snell's done twice. You know what I want? I want a guy that's going to hit me 18 to 25 home runs and going to bat me 290. I think the Tigers lack a development and scouting program. When was the last player that you seen us bring up at age 22, Bobby Witt, that hit 260, 20 home runs and like 70 RBIs? Fans were never clamoring for him.
So, just real quick, why don't you think that Scott Harris knows what he's doing?
First of all, you go out and you trade for Mark Canha, a 35-year-old guy. Okay, that's Mark Canha's doing good. He's not doing it. He's not doing. I'm not signing a 35-year-old guy to a one-year contract. Go out and get a player. Go get somebody. Who do we have in our pipeline that this guy's drafted or that's been drafted in the last 5 years that we see as an everyday player that's going to come up?
Chase Young.
This is his team. He makes the final say. Where is your development?
He's had two draft classes. He's had two draft classes.
Around baseball to see 19.
Because just Ed. The reason why I don't see it through you, I think you're projecting Al Avila failures on Scott Harris.
No, I'm not. He's had 2 years. So then he should have been getting rid of these players that we had in our system and trading them. That's his job, to upgrade our system.
Who?
But if they're bad players, how are you trading bad players?
Well, who wants your bad players?
I don't know. I guess if you're a good GM, you can figure out a way. I mean, Dave Dombrowski could figure out a way to, But
I don't think anybody trades for your bad players. There's no market for your bad players.
Okay. Back to your point. So he's had two draft picks. Who in these players and these draft picks are going to be on this roster next year?
Chase Young will be on this team next year. I think Malloy has a chance to be on this team next year.
Jackson Jobe is a top 10 prospect in the game and the top-ranked pitcher in minor league baseball prospect.
No offense to you, Doug, but thank you, Gator, because I know Gator pays a lot more attention to the minor leagues than the rest of us do.
Gator, did I say anything you don't agree with?
That.
No. All right.
So I appreciate that, guys. Thank you.
Ed, what do you want from – do you think Jackson Jobe is a quality prospect?
I think he is a quality prospect, but a lot of I actually do. I do think he is.
Okay. I think Chase Young. Okay, so those are his two first-round picks, right?
These are guys that we should see on this roster next season. I want to see. I look around baseball and I see 19, 20, 21-year-old, 22-year-olds making differences on teams. And I think that's what frustrates the fans here. Why don't we have any of that? We haven't had a everyday player since the 1980s that we've developed into an everyday player.
Certainly true. 100% true. The reflection, though, that you were putting this on Scott Harris when you like both of his last first-round picks, and you asked the question, who's going to be on the roster next year, I would almost guarantee that both of those two will at some point. They might not come right out of spring. And then it's not just about being
this guy.
Yeah, I mean that's why I get your frustrations, and I think frustrations with the Tigers are valid. I don't know that frustrations with Scott Harris are valid. But there you go. Ed, thank you. 248-539-9797. Did you? Yeah.
I'm trying.
You're trying what?
I thought you were asking.
Don't worry about
with
that.
Our feet.
Ed.
Right.
What about Ed?
Well, it's frustrating because I think he represents what fans represent. They're frustrated. It's been a while. They want to see his team compete, and it goes back to, what I said, that it's been a long time since the Tigers had a bunch of prospects at one time that looked like they were going to hit, and it was forever that they didn't hit on any of them. Okay, going from the era from Travis Fryman to like Nick Castellanos was a long time where the only thing you had in between was, Justin Verlander. Anybody that they had, if they had, I hope that Dave Dombrowski would trade those guys away to get talent. And it's not that he traded bad, but Dave Dombrowski traded top prospects to get major league talent.
He really, the core of that team was trades. Scherzer was a product of a trade. Miggy, product of a trade. I mean, obviously JV was one that they drafted, but there were plenty of players that they traded for. And there was, Pudge that they signed as a free agent.
But as far as the prospects that they have in the minor league organization right now, how many guys are going to come up to next year's team? Between now and the end of next season, you probably have, 4 or 5 guys that'll have an opportunity to play here. Now, how many of those guys stick?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. That remains to be seen, because right now they are just that. They are prospects. You won't know. But, judging on what Max Clark has done this year at Single A Lakeland as a 19-year-old, where he's coming off a tremendous month. I think he's leading the Florida State League in runs batted in and runs scored with 30. They have McGonigal there, the shortstop, who's off to a tremendous start there as well. He's actually hitting better than Max Clark is, but he's hitting leadoff. Those guys are going 1-2 in their lineup. Those two guys could be a lot of fun to watch matriculate through the minor league system if that's the case. And they do have some other younger players that are 20, 21 years old that have a chance to be here. But it might take a few years before you see them, and likely will take a few years before you see those guys.
Feedback coming into the Carson Anderson inbox. If you're not willing to spend, then I'm not willing to spend. These timelines GMs and owners always want to use during rebuilds will speed up if fans stop going. Stop buying $10 beers, $170 jerseys, etc. My mother has season tickets. She's part of the problem. That's from Robert and Flint, who's blaming his mom. I mean, we've heard this for the Lions for years. Stop going, and things will change. But
what if I like baseball?
Yeah, I mean, the deal is I never tell people how to spend their money. Their disposable income.
No, I don't like when people say you're stupid for doing this, you're stupid for doing that, because you're a fan and you like the experience of going to the games. Now, ultimately, if the team's not winning, that's a downer. But coming to a baseball game is about so much more than just seeing the team win.
If Scott Harris is telling the truth, they have to consider moving Skubal. I don't know if they have to, because I don't think that his timeline of his effectiveness can absolutely match up with a team that adds more veteran talent moving forward.
Well, he's under control for 2 more years.
Yeah,
and then you have to make a decision at that. I mean, you could decide now. You can sign him to a long-term deal now if you want, or you can trade him. I'm sure he'd get a ton in return.
It would be a move that would probably do Chris Ilitch a lot of good in terms of public perception if they locked up Skubal long-term.
Yes, I would agree with that 100%. If they signed him to some kind of,
healthy
6-year deal, 8-year deal for $300 million, $250, $300 million, somewhere in that range, I think it goes a long way.
I'm not going to defend a guy for being strict about what he wants. You got to be able to be flexible, and all they're telling us to do is be flexible, and there's no way for us to be flexible other than just blindly support a team that hasn't shown us anything in a decade. Well, the Scott Harris era, the guy that spoke that got this going, is in year 2. But the idea that he is being held accountable for the previous regime's problems, I guess people just don't care. Like, I don't care. I haven't seen a winning baseball team in a long time.
That's the impatience, and that's understandable, because fans are on a different timeline altogether. And like you said, you like to reset it when a new GM comes in. I kind of agree with that.
And then after a while, you go, okay, you're just Matt Millen, right? You just go, all right, you're not the guy.
But you got to show, you got to show that the players that you've acquired are worth having around. So looking at his acquisitions over the last couple of years, that's what you judge Scott Harris on. And for this offseason, it's Mark Canha, it's Gio Urshela. It's acquiring guys in the last couple of years like Vierling or McKinstry, and taking chances on those guys. And it's a mixed bag, but he hasn't saddled this team with a horrific contract as of yet. You look at Kenta Maeda or Jack Flaherty, the pitchers. Maeda's been totally hit or miss. When he's hit, he is awesome. When he's bad, he's bad.
Yep.
And Flaherty looks like he is, resurrected his career here from having a down year or two, and he's pitched great. So it's a lot of mixed bag here, but nothing's been bad. You know what I mean? I don't think there's any acquisition or choice that he's made that you can flat out say that's just terrible. That's reprehensible. And I know that Jim Costa in the morning show, he's got his 3-strike system, and I think he's already got him on 2 strikes with Scott Harris. And I think everybody has their own criteria what they're going to do with. I'm willing to give him a little bit longer time frame here before you absolutely say this isn't working.
I stand corrected, too. The truth is those 2 guys that are on the brink of getting here are Avila picks. It's Max Clark is the Scott Harris pick. He's had 1 draft, right? Am I correct on that? Start thinking about it. Clark is the only player he's drafted in the first round. Because last year was year 1. The draft is coming up now for year 2.
Yeah, I forget if there was one right before that. Was he part of did he have the 22 draft or no?
No, I think Jace Young was the last Avila pick.
Okay.
But those guys are close. Clark is an interesting prospect, but he's a long way away. When you draft a high school kid, it's going to be a minute. But they do have some guys that seem to have promise, even though they don't fall under his umbrella. But you got to give the guy some time. I mean, 248-539-9797. But there's a difference between frustration with the Tigers and frustration with Scott Harris. And I suppose you can be both, frustrated with one and not the other. Matt, you're next on 97.1 The Ticket. Hi, Matt.
Hey, boys. I think my frustration is twofold. Scott Harris came and said, hey, we're not going to sign any bats because we don't want to block anybody. But we don't have anybody who's hitting at the major league level right now. And he signed pitchers, and we have people that are pitching well at the lower league. Manning's come up a few times. Brisky's done pretty well, in spot starts. So he didn't have to sign Flaherty and Maeda with his own logic that we don't want to block anybody, yet we're struggling to score 3 runs a game. And then, with Illich, it's, Sheila has committed more money this offseason than Chris has spent on payroll since he took over the team. So it's one of those things where we feel like Scott Harris came in with the orders that he wasn't going to be spending a lot of money. And like you said, Doug, there's 30 jobs open. So when you get a job, you take a job and maybe use that as a springboard to the next job. But I think we've got an absentee owner and, whatever you want to call him, a president of baseball operations who's doing his bidding because it's the job that he wants to be doing.
I don't know.
Maybe. It's possible.
I don't know if it's fair to make any comparisons with the Tigers and the Lions. I mean, the NFL is a license to print money. They have a salary cap that's there to force his team to spend a certain amount of money, and you can't lose money in the NFL. Baseball is completely different. And, having to go through what they've gone through. I mean, look, I get you're frustrated, Matt. I'm a little frustrated here. I mean, I could counter this stuff. Look, Matt Manning hasn't been great. He's been okay, and he's actually made, 4 or 5 starts at the major league level this year. So it's not too far off. And in those starts, like I said, he's just been okay. Cater Martero is going to pitch today in the afternoon. He's going to make his debut.
But nothing that leads me to
I
believe
don't know if anybody's
really.
Team. I don't know if the pitching staff is being blocked out of spring training. It looked like, wait a minute, what's going on here? But as the season has unfolded, it's really not.
So, but the one thing that they've allowed time for Colt Keith. Like, this context is allowing Colt Keith to have a month where he's hitting 362 with a 406 on base, hit his first home run. Like, if you don't have this context, you don't get that development. We don't get to see it, at least. He might be doing it at AAA. But that's encouraging. Others have failed. And we'll just see over the course of time if they're worth it. I mean, eventually you have to spend. And eventually I'll say enough is enough. But as it stands right now, 248-539-9797, more your phone calls and feedback coming up. Do you believe what Scott Harris had to say? And does it make you change your mind at all? So far, basically the resounding answer is no. It's Carson Anderson here on 97.1.
Brought to you by Wendy's. A doubleheader for the Tigers today at Comerica Park, making up for last night's rainout. Tarek Skubal and Cater Montero are the starters for the games versus the Pirates. Now, unfortunately, Kerry Carpenter is going on the injury list with a sore back. Akil Baddoo is up to take the roster spot, but he is not in the lineup for the first game. Manager AJ Hinch jumped on right here on 97.1 this morning, where both games will be broadcasted starting at 12:40, and says that the red-hot City Connect uniforms may be taking a road trip if they continue to bring W's to his team today. A game time at 12:40 will have the call right here on 97.1 The Ticket. Also, charges against star golfer Scottie Scheffler will be dropped today with an agreement that both sides will not pursue any legal action related to the arrest from 2 weeks ago outside of Valhalla Golf Club. From the Corewell Health Sports Desk, I'm Chris Villar. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket and Odyssey.com.
So I'm looking at some of the feedback coming in, and I'm just getting shredded for not hating everything about the Tigers right now. And I think, you know what, I was trying to figure out. Some people make some points about their levels of frustration, and I go back to what I think are the best people to run organizations, and how I would hope that when you hire the guy, whoever your guy is, that's going to be in charge of bringing in talent. I think the smartest and the best ones are the ones that get the draft right. If you get the draft right, you are doing it in such a sustainable way. We don't know yet on Scott Harris. We don't. And we do know on a guy like Brad Holmes, right? He gets the draft right, which goes back to a level of sustainability. You've got that skill set. You're always going to be able to populate with young, cheap, talented players that you have to then decide which ones you're going to keep, which ones you're not going to keep, et cetera, et cetera. And so my judgment on a general manager starts to be formed when I start to get a sense for how they do with the draft. Some sports are easier to project than others. Baseball's very difficult.
Yeah, because you're drafting kids that are anywhere from 18 to 20, 22.
But if you go back and look at, was it Luno in Houston and the job that they did in terms of drafting players and all throughout the draft, you start to get a sense of an organization that knows what they're doing. That is probably the number one thing I'm looking for. It's not the only thing, but the number one thing I'm looking for in a GM candidate in all sports is the ability to cultivate talent from within your organization. And we can't possibly know yet on Scott Harris.
No, and I think this is such an important year in development for Riley Green and for Spencer Torkelson, because these are two guys you expect to be cornerstones of this team.
Yep.
And they're not playing like it. And we got a glimpse last year from both of those guys that they are. But it's 2 months into the season, and we haven't seen much from either. You know, both have had a good month and a bad month. So that's the disappointing part, because if those guys were cornerstones, true cornerstones, and showing themselves to be that in their third year or whatever it is they're in the league, the team would be better.
Yep.
Because the number one issue with this team this season has been the lack of putting runs across the board. The offense has been bad. But those are the two that have to do it. And then afterwards, you're going to have to find other guys. You know, they're taking a chance on Colt Keith. You know, my expectations of Colt Keith aren't sky high here, because he is a rookie who, you know, basically whipped through the minor leagues last year in all three levels. So he didn't spend a ton of time at AAA, and nor do I want to see him go down there, because as this season is worn on, he's never looked completely out of place. He doesn't look like he's really been fooled by pitches with his swing and miss rate. I mean, he doesn't strike out terribly often, and now he's starting to hit the ball quite a bit, which is good to see, and maybe there's a little bit of reward there. But again, that's not a Scott Harris guy, but it's okay. The guys in the previous regime, you still have to develop those guys. You know they're not yours; they still have to be developed.
Feedback coming in from an unnamed texter. Seriously, can we stop with the Justin Henry Malloy thing? He's been in AAA. It seems like forever. The Tigers don't believe in him.
Well, he's getting on base at a rate over 400. I think his on base percentage is like 408. He's hitting in the high 270s, I believe. His defense has gotten
Isn't
better.
that the question?
Well, the problem is it's not really so much defense. I think right now, at least what I've been reading about him lately is making sure that the pitches you're swinging at are not out of the zone.
Yeah.
So there's that issue, but at some point you're going to have to take a chance. But at whose expense? Because look at your outfield. You got Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter, Matt Vierling, Mark Canha is part of that mix, and Wenzel Perez. So what are you going to do? Because those are your 5 that are on the roster right now.
Well, Carpenter's it's Baду today. Carpenter on the IL, but yes.
So there.
Yeah. From Scott, I do get the feeling we're being a little quick to judge Scott Harris because of our Tiger timetable of suckitude. I think he could find a couple more Mark Canhas just to bolster the offense a bit until some of the kids can take hold as major league hitters.
Well, Mark Canha isn't exactly bolstering the offense. What Mark Canha does is he gets on base because he's very patient at the plate and he walks. He's not hitting a ton.
The Tigers seem like the Lions of the last 60-plus years before this year. Okay, what the Lions were staggeringly incompetent for 60. Like, it was an unbelievable stretch. An unbelievable stretch. This is I get frustrations, but it's not 60 years.
No, it's not.
And
different sports.
Yep.
Different rules.
Yep.
With how you construct teams and all that. I mean,
but
we've seen in 3 years they've completely redone the roster with the Detroit Lions. You can't do that in baseball.
Yeah, and when you draft Brian Branch and Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta, those guys are here immediately making an impact. Yeah. When you draft a high school kid, the implication is it's going to be patience. Now, should he have gone another direction? You can make the case, certainly, with Wyatt Langford, but at the end of the day, the comparisons, I was thinking about making that comparison today, and I was like, you know what? I can't. It was 60 years, and I can't do that.
Well, yeah, and the Langford Max Clark comparisons are going to be there for a long time because that's who the Tigers took, Max Clark instead of Wyatt Langford. Wyatt Langford is a guy who's pretty much ready to play in the major leagues, and he's in the major leagues. Max Clark was a high school kid that's going to take a while before he matriculates. But I would just tell people, Max Clark's playing well.
Yep.
Got off to a slow start, and he's picked it up significantly. He's hitting line drives all over the place down at Lakeland. Don't be surprised if he gets a promotion the next month to move up to West Michigan, the high A ball, along with McGonigal, because they're both just hitting everything that's coming their way and hitting it in line drive fashion. Plus, what Max Clark has is something that you don't have to wait for. He's already defensively really good as an outfielder. Really good. He's got great speed. So those are attributes that are already ahead of schedule.
Marching band scheduled for 11:30 right out in front of us, and I understand there's going to be some jackhammer work in the noon hour.
That's great.
So all that to look forward to. Something interesting is going on as it pertains to the NBA draft. We will get to that today at 11:20. It's Carson Anderson outside Comerica Park here on 97.1 The Ticket.
These days, good service is so hard to find, right? So when you find a company that provides great service, you want people to know about it. I want you guys to know about Precision Garage Door. They're awesome. I've had issues with my garage doors. I called the guys. They came out right away. I mean, right away. Diagnosed what the problem was, gave me a bunch of different options, and they said, look, down the road, you're going to have to replace these doors. But for right now, we can service this and hook you up. I said, that sounds great. Let's go with it. And that's exactly what happened. Jeff was a technician. He walked me through all those options. The service was great. Daryl and the whole team, they were easy to work with, and I'm so glad that I called Precision. So if you've got your garage doors done right, do what I did and call Precision Garage Door today. 1-800-DOOR-REPAIR or visit precisiondoormi.com to schedule an appointment.
Doug Harsh, Scott Anderson outside Comerica Park. 97.1 The Ticket. Open lines, 248-539-9797. AJ Hinch was on the morning show coming up a little bit later on. We'll get his take on basically Scott Harris's comments. The guys asked him about it.
That was interesting.
It was. And, I mean, if you missed it, Scott Harris yesterday on MLB Network said, look, I have the support of ownership to spend, but we want to be closer before we do. And this has been met with a skeptical eye from our listening audience, I can tell you right now.
Well, if people want to make a connection with the Lions, right, and it sounds like that's what people want to do, which I don't think is fair at all. But if you wanted to, has Scott Harris shown, I mean, it's such an early stage for him, but what the Lions did was they've extended money to their own guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Scott Harris has basically signed one, contract outside of free agency, and that was with Colt Keith.
Yes.
Their own guy.
Yes.
Is that at all any kind of comparison at all?
Here's what it would be. It would be Scooble.
Yeah.
You lock up Scooble for years to come, and I think people would applaud you. And I don't really see any reason why not.
Well,
other than
what you would get in return.
You don't have to spend. If you sign him now, though, you save long term. If he's everything we think he is, and he's really done a good job over the most part of this course of this season, instilling confidence. But if he's everything we think he is, it would make sense to sign him to a long-term contract, save money long-term, but you'd have to pay him more up front. But
yes, but those that we wouldn't want that want to see, well, good God, you've got maybe the best pitcher in baseball right now, or one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he's left-handed. He's young. He still has control. You trade that piece, and you can get a handful of guys. You can get a couple major league players, and you can get some prospects out of it, which would be kind of the complete opposite of what they had with Verlander at the end of the run with JV, and why they didn't get maybe what they wanted to, because it was the end of a contract.
And, I was in the trade Fulmer camp for injury reasons, but Scooble, I'm not in the trade Scooble camp. I know some people are, and some people think that the Tigers will be, but it would take just a monumentally ridiculous offer for me to say yes. For me, want to say yes. I would hope it would be that for the Tigers as well. But all right, so it's being reported everywhere that the 54th ranked prospect on ESPN's big board in the NBA is turning down workouts that he's been invited to.
Oh.
Bronny
54?
Bronny James has accepted 2 workouts. He's had over 10 organizations ask him to come work out. He's accepted 2.
2.
The Lakers and the Phoenix Suns.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's interesting.
So there's a couple things about this. When you are the son of an NBA legend, an icon, there are, I think, pretty much 2 paths you can take. You can decide, I want to blaze my own path. I want to make it on my own accord. I want to be my own man. Or I want to take advantage of being LeBron James's son. You can say that you want to blaze your own path and you want to be your own man. But the actions of turning down workouts tells me that, in fact, you are doing just the opposite of blazing your own path. You're riding the coattails. What 54th ranked prospect is turning down workouts?
Well, and he's the 54th ranked prospect because of his last name, because of his lineage, because it sure as hell ain't how he played his freshman year.
You mean that he's only ranked 54th because of that?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it very well might be. It wasn't his freshman year. He had a great workout. And people said, I don't know what the RAS score equivalent is in the NBA, but apparently he tested very well. But I found this to be just an example of, and I'm not really blaming Bronny. Well, here's why. He's a kid, and I know some people no, he's a young adult. He's 19, 20, whatever. But my 22-year-old, I think, makes kid-like decision. So you just I think that you can't turn down workouts.
Here's where I would differ.
And by the way, be taken seriously as a guy who's out there to be drafted on the merits of who he is as a player and not drafted because of his last name.
He's got an agent. His agent has come out and said that he's definitely staying in the draft. He's not going back to school. So, had he kept that option open and he only wanted to work out for a couple of teams because, okay, I can always go back to school and he can do that.
Yep.
I'd say, all right, whatever, do what you're going to do. But because he's committed to getting into the draft, there's a disconnect here. This is not smart. It's not wise. So basically what you've said to the NBA is you're only going to go where places that your father's considering. So whether LeBron is going to return to the Lakers or is LeBron going to go to Phoenix, I mean, if I were in Phoenix right now, I'd be excited because basically what Bronny is telling you is that the old man is thinking about signing with Phoenix. I think is a bad career move for the youngster.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you can talk all you want about blazing your own trail, but when your trail is blazed by your father and you're just riding the coattails and you're along for that ride and you're still along for that ride, that's just not being truthful.
Now, maybe putting your name into the draft in the first place and leaving it is, given what he has thought of as a prospect, maybe that is an example of he already knows what he's doing in terms of riding his dad's coattails. I don't want to root against Bronny James. I want to actually. I'd love it. I think it'd be a great story. But at the end of the day,
a chance to watch him play.
What's that?
If you're an NBA team, you don't even have a chance to watch. Like you saw him work out once.
Yeah.
You've invited him to come out and work out for your team because you're considering drafting him, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm good."
I wonder if the Pistons were one of the teams that offered him a workout. And I would like it if they were.
Well, who's offering?
Well, that's true.
I mean, Trajan Langdon hasn't officially been named the guy yet, even though it seems like that's who's the guy. But then, okay, if he's the guy, then who's in charge of the draft? Who's in charge of all that mess? I thought you were kidding about the marching band.
I was.
I thought you were kidding about the marching band.
I was completely kidding. I was completely kidding.
This isn't happening. This is not happening.
There is literally a marching band walk past right now. I was joking, Gator.
I don't even know what to say. It's unbelievable.
It's the Olivet Eagles marching band. Keg?
The high school.
Keg?
I have no words. I have no words. I want to make a joke, but I'm afraid it's going to happen.
No,
I can't believe that. An actual marching band did show up.
This is a Simpsons skit. This is like Family Guy, right?
This is the original Batman movie from the 60s where Batman has a bomb and he's trying to get rid of the bomb and he's at the pier and everywhere he turns to drop the bomb, something is there. It means he can't do it. One of them was a marching band.
That's right.
He goes to drop it in the water, but there's like a family of ducks that are swimming in the water, so he doesn't want to do that. And at the end of it, he turns and looks at the camera and says, "Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb." That's what's going on right now. Some days we just can't get rid of a bomb.
Hey, actually, what I promised a jackhammer at noon. We'll see. An actual...
I'm looking for an area where the jackhammer could go on the corner there of Woodward and Montcalm.
There is some construction.
You never know. And you said maybe there's going to be police arresting somebody in front of us. Well, there is a cop car to the left.
Up.
These are things that all could happen.
An actual marching band. Unbelievable.
That's what the marching band was playing in Batman.
All right, well, there you go.
So there was that. That happened.
Someone's trolling us.
Really?
They didn't rally. I said it 20 minutes ago. They didn't drive all the way down from Olivet in that time.
No, someone's in the back going, cue the marching band in 20.
Right.
Is this Impractical Jokers? Is this happening?
Smithers, release the hound.
And
Here come the feral dogs. Right.
Whenever we broadcast from here, something goes. Dude with the bucket playing with the drumsticks.
Right.
Sets up shop 20 feet from our broadcast location.
You got dude with brings his electric guitar out and starts playing, all along the watchtower solos by Hendrix. That happens. It's amazing what can happen downtown.
It's Carson Anderson here on 97.1 The Ticket. Hey, at Sarah Chevrolet Sterling Heights, they're getting psyched for the summer with mega deals all month long. Right now, you can lease an Equinox at $239 a month or a Trax at $228 a month. Those are both LX front-wheel drive, and they're 2-year leases with only $19.99 down. Unlock your savings with their GM employee discount. Sarah Chevrolet in Sterling Heights, where they guarantee the lowest price or it's free. 17.5 in Van Dyke in Sterling Heights. Call 87-SAY-SARAH or visit saysarah.com. Together, let's drive. Doug Carr, Scott Anderson outside Comerica Park. A.J. Hinch joined the morning show, said some interesting things about where this organization is and, the frustration that the fans have. And he addressed it, and we'll get to that coming up at 11:48 here on 97.1 The Ticket. Gator, I just told you I was back from from the College Baseball Club World Series where my son participated for the University of Michigan. They made it. They qualified this year. And they were playing a game yesterday, 2 days ago actually, and East Carolina, their team showed up. They're number 1 in the country, and they showed up to scout, okay? Mm-hmm. And they were sitting behind my daughter. Now, just a quick, you have seen the haircuts that my boys have.
Yes.
How would you describe the look of the 16 to 22-year-old young man?
Wake out of bed, mop on your head, and let's go.
Yeah. Now, this is not the look that everybody has everywhere in the country.
No.
So my daughter quoted, she was sitting in the stands, and a bunch of kids from East Carolina were sitting behind her. And one of them says to another one, how come all these Michigan kids look exactly like J.J. McCarthy? And I thought, it's got to be the haircut. It's got to be that Midwest bird's nest, fresh out of bed.
Right. Kind of maybe tighter on the sides, but a mop on top.
Total mop on top.
Yeah.
And
like, how does a hat fit over that?
Yeah, they some of them have problems with the hat, but she burst out laughing. And I did notice that I felt like the kids from the southern schools had more crop tops, or they have the part with the hair that comes way down. It's just a completely different look. But then they were also struggling with some other things, like, hey, that's a left-handed catcher. And he wasn't. But whatever.
What? They don't know the left from the right? Is that what's going on?
Well, one of the kids turned to him and said, Kyle, which hand do you throw with? And Kyle, my right. And what hand does that catcher throw him with? This one. Kyle, that's your right hand. Oh, it is. So I don't.
Sometimes it takes him a little longer.
Yeah, it
down
takes
south.
Takes him just a minute.
It's okay.
Yeah. But I thought that was funny that they thought all the Michigan kids looked like J.J. McCarthy. Taking inventory of the holiday weekend, did you see the record number of flights that were delayed or canceled?
I did not.
1,100 flights were delayed, more than 200 canceled.
Does not surprise me given the weather issues that were around all weekend. Yeah.
Flight issues continued to pile up through the morning and came in at more than, 8,400 delayed flights and 580 canceled by midday Monday. In total, I'm reading this story and I'm doing it wrong. For the whole weekend, that was just Monday. For the whole weekend, 20,000 flights delayed, 860 canceled. The biggest issues were found in the New York area. LaGuardia Airport had the most disruptions, canceling 15% of outbound flights. That, I feel for people out there that traveled via the air. It is frustrating as hell. And then another story I wanted to bring up with you. It's a Florida man story.
Oh, I love the Florida man story.
Headline, Florida men steal 150 gallons of used cooking oil from restaurants. For what purpose?
Cooking?
How much cooking are you planning on doing?
Apparently a lot. Getting ready crab oil season.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. 150 gallons?
150 gallons. They would go around to various restaurants and steal tanks of used cooking oil.
I don't know, Doug.
Yeah.
I don't know what the purpose is there. You can reuse the oil, I suppose. Can it be used for fuel?
Is there a black market for used?
I don't
cooking
know.
Oil?
I don't know. I didn't. Not.
Can you resell it? Like, is there some?
I buy my oil at the supermarket. So
yeah.
I just assume that it's fresh. I don't know if it's been tainted. If it's been used before.
But you know what's never been said to me?
Like ricotta is recooked cheese.
Yeah. I've never had it. Nobody's ever offered, hey, you want to buy any oil? That's never happened. So I'm not quite sure.
We may not be going to the right spots.
Yeah, maybe we're missing out.
Could be.
Yeah. But yeah, 2 men arrested and charged with burglary for 150 gallons of used cooking oil from various locations.
They burgled a lot of oil.
They did. Do you think they thought they were stealing something else, maybe?
what else would you think it is?
I don't know. If it came in an oil drum, they actually think they were stealing some sort of gas or something.
I don't know if it comes in a drum.
I'm
not sure what kind of a vessel it's in, what kind of container it's in.
State laws regulate how restaurants must dispose of used cooking oil after frying foods. Places, including the Metro Diner, store the used cooking oil in a tank outside the restaurant. Then third-party companies pick it up. These tanks are in enclosed areas. Usually they're fenced and locked, according to the manager of the Metro Diner.
So I don't know. I mean, does it get recycled? Do they strain it and get out the impurities and then reuse it? I don't know.
According to police, witnesses also watched them steal used cooking oil in the same way at a Cracker Barrel, which is less than 2 miles away.
I think this is a question for the listeners out there that are restaurateurs.
Yeah.
Those that work in kitchens, those that own restaurants or manage restaurants. Kang, you used to work in the service industry there. Do you have any idea why the oil would be so valuable when it's used oil?
All right, so whenever Florida man steals anything, I always think he's stealing it to make meth. So I'm just going to go with they're going to make drugs or meth out of this.
That's a solid thought.
Yeah, so if Florida
Solid
man
thought.
steals something, it's to make meth, period.
Yeah. Maybe somebody out there that makes meth can let us know.
Yeah, or some kind of form of delicious smelling meth. I don't know. I mean,
is it deep fried meth?
Yeah, exactly. Crispy skinned meth, you know?
Ain't nothing better than deep fried meth.
Yeah, country fried meth. I don't know. I love it with the gravy.
Maybe that's what this is all about. I had no idea. Pretty safe bet, though. Seriously, though, is there any you did work in it in the industry?
Yeah. I mean, oil. I don't know, deep frying. Seriously, maybe deep frying a turkey. Oil. Hey, man, inflation. Everything costs a lot of money now. You know, right? So maybe they've stripped the oil and sold it for parts. Facts. I have no idea.
The hoarding of the used oil to sell it around Thanksgiving for deep frying turkeys?
Discount
oil?
Yeah, people reuse oil all the time.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying. I think you could sift it get rid of the floaty bits or whatnot.
But you only want to steal things. You only want to steal things that have some sort of value to turn around and sell. Correct?
This would be, yeah, I would think so.
Maybe it's Florida man. Maybe
Another utility, yeah.
He misheard the oil. What type of oil it was? He's like, I got oil. What?
Also possible. Yeah.
That's not necessarily black gold Texas tea.
Yeah, exactly.
No, not the kind of oil you were looking for. This is not the oil you were looking for.
This is not the oil you're looking for.
Well,
come on,
I got
Kyle. I told you, Kyle.
What hand do you throw with?
By the way, Florida man,
yeah,
100% falls for the Jedi mind trick. 100%.
You think?
They're weak-minded. Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
Well,
you will steal the oil.
Well,
I will steal the oil. You will have no purpose for this oil. I got no purpose for this oil.
We get a sheet of just unique stuff every day, and every day there's a selection of Florida man stories.
Yeah.
This was the best one today. But
that's a good one.
There is always Florida man stories. 248-539-9797. Tyler, you're on 97.1 A Ticket. Hi, Tyler.
How's it going? Sorry to burst the fun out of it. It's not for making meth. I'm guessing they're using it to make bootleg diesel fuel.
How would you know this?
And I'm not really sure why they're stealing it, because most of the time you can just go ask to have it, and they'll just give it to you because it's useless anyway.
Wait, how do you make bootleg diesel fuel?
I don't know the whole process behind it, but I know people that do make diesel fuel out of used cooking oil from like McDonald's, and they use it in their tractors and their old diesel cars. So,
Tyler, that's awesome. I had no idea. So they were caught stealing something that they might have been able to get had they simply asked.
Asked for it, yeah.
Absolutely.
God.
Thank you.
That
Hilarious.
is the number
Thank you,
one.
Tyler.
That's the number one answer on Ticket Text. I just looked.
Is
homemade diesel fuel?
Yeah, biofuel for diesel engines.
Nice. Okay.
Second is meth. No, just kidding.
Thank you very much, Tyler. 248-539-9797.
You know, when Jimmy from Yellowstone was recruited by his old meth buddies to go back inside the Home Depot or wherever it was down there in Montana and purchase the meth materials, I don't recall oil being one of them.
You don't? No. Well, maybe the show's lost some authenticity then, apparently.
Right, yeah, and I didn't get into Breaking Bad, so I couldn't tell you what worked there. But I don't know if oil was one of them.
All right, straight ahead, AJ Hinch, is this a development year, and do you understand fans' frustrations? We will get to that today at 11:48 here on Carson Anderson on 97.1 The Ticket. NBA playoffs. Well, it's getting deep in the game, but it's not too late to get in on the action with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 to bet on same-game parlays, live bets, championship futures, and so much more. You can bet on other sports with it. $150 just for getting a winning ticket. So find a prop bet. It's not going to pay anything, but you get the $150, right? There's no better place to bet on all the action than America's #1 sportsbook. Just go to FanDuel.com/Doug to get started today. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in Michigan. First online, real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is not withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Okay. So I want to tell you about a great experience that I had recently with a local company, and when you have great experiences, you want the world to know. I had problems with my garage.
Doug Harsh, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Open lines, 248-539-9797. Outside of Comerica Park, Tigers have doubleheader today against Pittsburgh. Skubal versus Jared Jones in Game 1. Keider Montero versus Paul Skeens in Game 2. Perhaps a mismatch. Montero hasn't made it out of the fifth inning of any games down at AAA. His ERA is in the fours. A.J. Hinch has had some nice things to say about him. So the stuff, they might have the stuff. It hasn't really resulted in good numbers down in Toledo, unfortunately.
It's kind of an interesting statistical anomaly. If he hasn't made it out of the fifth, but his ERA is in the fours, it's kind of weird.
Well, an ERA is what you would give up in earned runs over 9 innings. So
this is true, but I just,
So he gives up a couple earned runs, but does it through 4 innings? I don't know. I tried to look up the game log, and I was looking for an outing or two that I could say there, but.
Well, he's a guy they like. They like his stuff. They like his stuff, Doug.
A lot of times you got to figure though, if you have a 27th man available on a day like today, and you go, okay, Toledo. This wasn't a scheduled doubleheader. So you almost have to grab the next starter up for Toledo.
Well, it's exactly what you have to do.
And so you don't get to choose Matt Manning every time if he has recently pitched.
This is correct.
So anyway.
Well, and they also they could have just going Flaherty today.
Yeah.
They could have done that.
They could have,
but then their flexibility changes with what happens over the weekend when they're in Boston, and they wanted. I guess they could have Flaherty there and use the 27th man here with a pitcher.
You can't use a 27th man Sunday.
Correct.
And they would have to pitch either Skubal or Flaherty or go with a bullpen day on Sunday because you got your next 3 starters going Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so this way they push everybody back and keep the rotation in order. But all right, so A.J. Hinch was on the morning show. And look, fans' frustration is over the accumulation. Even though there's these slight steps forward, it feels like they're nuanced and they're small. And we're kind of getting impatient. And when the Tigers aren't great, it does have this feeling like they're ruining summer. And it's even worse because they're not on TV and nobody really cares about the intricate details that led to this. They just know that the baseball team isn't on TV. So I feel like we're in a very emotional and combustible place with fans. And on top of that, they didn't really spend a ton of money. Well, they just didn't. They made some subtle moves that might help with a win here or there with Canna and Urshela, Flaherty and Maeda. But these aren't moves that you feel like are intended to put you over the top because they're not. And so the morning show just asked A.J. Hinch, hey, is it fair to characterize this as a development year? And here's what the Tiger manager told him this morning.
Do not concede the attempt to win with trying to break in young bats and learn more about your players. So I think if they both can happen at the same time, we demonstrated that early. We've had a terrible May when it comes to a record standpoint. So I just don't think it's healthy for players or coaches or me as the manager or fans. We want to keep everything in perspective. That we got a lot of learning and growing to do. We're not trying to not win. I mean, it's not okay when we go in and get beat up in a series or we fall under 500. We want our standards to be really high, but there's going to be a few different kind of peaks and valleys when it comes to young players breaking in and learning their way while we kind of earn the right for contention and competitiveness and getting guys into playoff talk. You got to earn that. So I think both can happen, and I don't obsess over the things that I'm not in control of. We've got to get these players better, and we're getting there step by step. It just for all of us, it doesn't always come fast enough.
The one thing about him, he doesn't. When he talks about, I don't obsess over this, I don't obsess over that. I'm sure he gives the big picture some thought, but you know what he does obsess over? Today's game. That's all he really ever talks about in terms of making sort of definitive statements. He is so publicly focused on the singularity of today's game that I'm sure he has those thoughts at home alone after a couple beers. But
well, the thing is, I mean, look, he knows full well what the schedule is. He knows what's coming up in advance. But yes, he is completely focused on the next game, and that's all that matters. He's not going to get caught up in, we have to go 7-3 over this stretch or that stuff. It's not. That doesn't even matter to him. What matters to him is we got to get set up here, and it was in full force when he was talking about the City Connect jerseys. When they jokingly asked him if it works out today, where you guys win the games wearing the City Connect jerseys, you're going to take those on the road, and he's like, yeah, we are actually. We're going to do everything. We don't care. We're going to ask for forgiveness, if that's the thing. But it's worked out so far. But he goes at the end of it, I'm just really worried about and focused on the first game. Let's get the first win.
Yeah.
And then we'll worry about the other stuff later.
So that was his answer about, is it fair to characterize this as a development year? The guys asked a follow-up, and they said, okay, but do you understand why fans are frustrated? And here's what A.J. Hinch had to say.
No, I definitely understand. And given the last decade, or near decade of this fan base being supportive of the Tigers and wanting to see better times, like I don't fault the fan base for wanting more. I think the answer though can come in a couple different ways. And for us on the field, we know who's going to be a part of this moving forward. We've got to get those guys better. And I know we have a ton of support, both from the fans, also from ownership, from Scott, and the front office. I just think when you as a player or as a coach or as a manager, if you get yourself kind of dialed into all of that stuff, I'm not sure it helps you win today's game, and that's where I have to get this team focused on what they can control.
So there's a few things about that answer. One is, and what I really like about it, is it speaks to he is comfortable in what he is doing. He is comfortable in his role. He thinks that he can build a winner here. He thinks he can do it here. But he's also aware and sensitive to the current climate. And I've always thought coaches, managers, executives that get hyper defensive, it makes me wonder if they A, understand the climate, and B, know what they're doing. And look, that he seems like, I got this. That's what I get from that is, I got this. But he's not mad at anybody for what they're feeling. Like, he goes, I know.
Well, I think one thing we learned about A.J. Hinch is I think he's great at diffusing situations.
Yeah.
I think he's very professional when he's in front of the cameras and microphones. Let's not blow this thing up bigger than what it is. At the same time, I also think that he has confidence in himself and the staff that they can get these guys back on track. What he has seen, he knows there's talent there. There's talent with Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson. There's no question there's talent there. But it's their job to make sure that those players realize that talent on a much more consistent basis than what we've seen. And for that, I think it's got to be really tough to be the manager of a team that's got a bunch of players like that are talented and they're not playing to the level that you expect them to.
So this is a theory I've developed over the years, and I'm wondering if it's flawed. And that is, when you don't get hyper defensive and can answer these kinds of questions in a relatable way, I look at that as confidence and self-assuredness, and to a degree, competence. Am I overplaying that card? I'm looking in the mirror here a little bit. Am I overplaying that?
I don't know. I think deep down, I think he wishes that they had made bigger splashes in the off seasons and acquired better talent. I think you go back a few years ago when they had all the shortstops available in free agency, and the Tigers ended up with Javi Baez, and you had that famous photograph of A.J. Hinch with Carlos Correa on the street having something to eat. It's like, is he frustrated that from moment one he wasn't able to get what he wanted, which was probably Carlos Correa? No offense intended towards Javi Baez, but Correa was going to be his guy, and maybe what it boils down to is from moment one, they were hamstrung because ownership wasn't gonna pay $300 million to a player.
You know, I guess when I look back at the coaches that got most defensive, and I've had some coaches get really upset with me in one-on-one situations, and the ones that got upset with me for kind of asking questions that I get asked to try and have an idea as to, you know, which criticisms and questions and second guessing is valid and which ones aren't. Because the competent ones say, I made a mistake there. I make hundreds of decisions. They're not all going to be right. My job is to get more right than wrong. To me, is like, okay, I can listen to that. But the guys that got super defensive, almost all of them really didn't work out. Now, and so I guess that shapes why I feel my reaction to that is confidence and competence.
Well, and with AJ Hinch, he's got a track record of it, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
not like
questioned
this
the
is his
track
first.
record when he was hired, but
It's not like this is his first rodeo with a team. I mean, he knows talent when he sees it, and he's got a track record of being able to develop that talent to win.
Yeah.
And you have to have that confidence. Other coaches that we can look at in the past, I don't know who the guys you are referring to, but I'm guessing that things were going south when they started to fall apart a little bit in front of cameras and microphones. And when I say fall apart, that's what I mean getting defensive.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been a great month, and he is not. He didn't get.
No, he's not. I mean, it also helps that they just took 3 out of 4 against Toronto, and this is the first time they've had a chance to talk to him, and they're coming off, winning those 3 out of 4.
Is it tough to try and manufacture runs with the lineups you have to manipulate? One of the questions the guys asked AJ Hinch. Hear his answer coming up at 12:02 here on Carson Anderson on 97.1 The Ticket. A little bit of a sprinkle now here at Comerica Park, but nothing that I would think slow down the start time for today's first game of a doubleheader, 12:40, Tigers and the Pittsburgh Pirates here at Comerica. It's Tarek Skubal versus Jared Jones, Keider Montero versus Paul Skeens. I got to tell you, I wish they could have sorted out Skubal versus Skeens.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Yep.
I certainly would have been fun. I'm so excited about Skeens. Just watching him play at LSU.
Yep.
And how dominant he can be. I mean, the guy's just throwing 100 miles an hour. I talked about it yesterday. From pitch 1 to pitch 100, he'll throw 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
He just doesn't slow down, and he's got that stamina to go with it. It's great. But at the major league level, you're probably not going to get to 100 pitches anymore.
No, but
did you see last night a guy had a no-hitter? And I think it was through 7 innings. He threw 93 pitches, and they took him out.
It's 93 pitches.
I know. It's 93 pitches, and they took him out.
Well, it's so early in the year. When you start getting into like close to June, it might.
I get frustrated with baseball sometimes.
Well, yeah. You wonder if the coddling and baby of the arms made him more delicate. But
I mean, the thing is, everybody's throwing so hard these days. I think that's what scares people with pitch counts is how taxing it can be. And
what's the
I thought I
medical
read something that
explanation?
fastballs are even a velocity up, the number of fastballs that are thrown are down.
Game's weird now.
It's
but
weird.
offense is way down. I mean, the
Offense
league
is
average.
way down.
The league average batting average is 240.
Yeah, league OPS is like 700.
Last year, the league batting average. Last year, the league OPS was 800, and now it's 699.
No, it wasn't 800.
Average I'm sorry, 734. My bad.
Thank you.
It's now down to 699.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yes.
ERAs have gone from 433 this year to 397 now. We're getting sidetracked. I said we'd play the final thing from A.J. Hinch before we get over to Tiger baseball.
You had those stats right there.
I did.
They're right there in front of you. You took notes.
Prep work.
That is prep work.
And it just so happened, the show almost went entirely gone with me not being able to use those. Thank you to James Sciano of Roto World. I copied that. And you brought
Empty
it
the
up.
bucket, yeah.
Yeah, bucket got used.
Yes.
All right, so A.J. Hinch. Is it frustrating or tough to try and manufacture runs with the lineups you have to manipulate? Here's what he had to say.
I look at how do I squeeze the most out of this offense, by getting big matchups and by moving guys around a little bit. We're playing the personnel that we have. We are not always going to have a team that has this much platooning or this much change. But in trying to squeeze out the most wins, trying to have a winning season for the first time in a long time, we've got to try to put our guys in a position to be successful. So I get it. It's not, kind of universally praised, but honestly, it's just trying to be transparent with where we're at and what we're doing. While at the same time, we still see this into the park today. Whether we're playing, the Blue Jays who have high aspirations for this year, whether we're playing, the Astros in a week, or we're playing the Milwaukee Brewers who are having a good season here at home in the next home stand. Like, our job's to win the game, and our standards are really high. So I just want to be careful that doesn't mean proper feet out the next kid, put a mire in there.
So there you go. That is A.J. Hinch. And while the jackhammer didn't show,
the fire truck did.
Fire truck making its way down Woodward. Because, of course, there's a fire truck making its way down Woodward.
Yeah.
Today we actually had a marching band go past.
Yeah, that happened.
While we were broadcasting live. Kang, can you hear that?
Oh, what are you talking about, Doug?
It's incredible.
Without fail.
Yep.
Without fail, these things happen.
If we are broadcasting live, there will be some sort of event that interferes with the broadcast.
Well, it would be nice if the Tigers wouldn't have to manufacture runs so much. Be great if they just get a couple guys on base. You get the boom and the blast. Be great.
Yeah, I mean, Torque started to show some power. Took a minute. Riley Green's been extended period of not being Riley Green.
And
I don't know.
Now Kerry Carpenter's out.
Now Kerry Carpenter's out. Yeah.
Well, here's I guess some decent news. We'll see what Akil Baddoo does. I don't expect world-changing stuff from him, but he has been swinging a bat better at Toledo. His OPS, I think, is over 800 down there, even though his batting average may be
Wouldn't
lower.
this been a prime opportunity to bring up Justin Henry Malloy if he's only going to DH?
Sure. Yep.
So the guy had texted in earlier saying, guys, he's never going to – they don't believe in him. Today would have felt like a good day. But
yeah, unless you view Akil Baddoo as your fill-in guy and you view Malloy as a potential fixture, do you want to bring him in just for a cup of coffee and, a game here and there? Or do you want to, when you bring him up, do you want him to start 5 out of 6 games?
Yeah. Yep. Did you just hear that? I'm sure the audience did.
Little thunder?
Little thunder.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're probably going to be on standby just in case there's a delay here. Stick with us as a little bit of rain. It's not supposed to be much.
No, it's not. And like I've said before, it's all dependent on, getting that first pitch thrown. If the tarp is not on the field, it's a good sign. And we're, a half an hour from first pitch here.
Yeah.
So.
There's virtually, when you're playing interleague games too, there's not a want to cancel anymore.
No.
So they will delay and do what's necessary to get this one in. As the Tigers this afternoon, doubleheader scheduled against the Pittsburgh Pirates. We get to see our Cy Young candidate in Game 1. Well, one of our 2 Cy Young candidates, the other one being Reese Olson, who has a better ERA than Tarek Skubal.
Finally got a win.
Yeah. So I joke about Olson, but seriously, if he were getting any run support, even now, people are noticing how good he has been. Batting average against for Reese Olson. Did you see this?
I have not.
It's 197.
That's pretty good.
Yep. But Skubal's the guy that's getting all the attention, as he should, and he has looked outstanding.
Got to bounce back, though.
He gets the baseball today in a Game 1, and as we mentioned earlier, Kiter Montero in Game 2. So thanks to our crew down here. The street team came back in our studios. We'll be on standby in case there's a rain delay, and talk to you soon. But Tiger Baseball broadcast scheduled next here from Comerica Park on 97.1 The Ticket.